Hello and welcome to our demo for Saltstack integration. I'm sitting here with Greg Althouse.
Hi.
We are going to work through how this integration works. We're starting from this position, so we assume that you've already taken the time to go through bootstrapping, install and booting the nodes. And we have a set of servers that are literally waiting for us to put through the ready state wizard. So good starting point to start rolling.
So in this case, what we want to do is we're going to, at the end, or actually let's start from what we want the system to be.
Okay.
At the end, we want one of our nodes to be a Saltstack master, and the other two, and itself, to be Saltstack minions, so that they can participate and be controlled through Saltstack at the end. Crowbar in this case is not going to maintain ownership of that. It's merely setting it up as a service to be used by the system administrators after.
Okay.
So what we do first is we're going to go to the nodes. Sorry, the ready state wizard is what I meant.
Okay.
And configure the nodes. In this case, we want them to run CentOS 6.5. So we're going to install that. And the reason is Saltstack right now, the cookbooks support only the CentOS 6.5 versions.
Right.
The systemd changes in CentOS 7 haven't been implemented in the Saltstack recipe.
Oh, okay.
So at this point, we have all the stuff we're going to do to install the OS. Let's go ahead and add the Saltstack minions. So we don't have a milestone role for this yet. So we'll need to enable the turn off the system only roles. An oversight, and we should add that at some point when we get around to it.
Yeah, it's always nice to find those hidden UI features that...
So in this case, now we should see all of them. So in this case, let's add a Saltstack master role. And while we're there, why don't we add this Saltstack minion role? Okay, so we want to choose one of the nodes, it doesn't matter which, to be our Saltstack master.
Okay. I usually like to pick 81 for that, so that's 82. Let's do this. Hold on. I need to figure out which one's 81. So to figure out which node is node 81, 81 is 9A00. So under here, 9800, I'm going to call this one master, and I'm going to call this minion 1 and minion 2.
Okay.
1. Oh, and
No
spaces, yes, because those also become aliases.
DNS alias. Yeah.
Okay. Excellent. So now back to our pilot deployment. Yay,
Okay. So now let's give the master role.
Okay.
And then the others can have the minion roles. And that's all we need to do.
So commit.
Yeah, so let's go into that real quick. So here we're in the node role. If we wanted to, we could attempt to inject a set of keys and IPs to do an external Saltstack master. This way, the system, let me start over here. This role can also be used as a deployment role. Right now it's being used as a node role to put the Saltstack master on that device. It could also be used as a node role to inject the Saltstack master IP and key into the Saltstack minion roles so that you could attach the minions to an external Saltstack server.
That makes sense.
But in this case, we're going to build our own Saltstack master.
Whoops. I need to figure out that. Huh. All right.
Yeah, that sounds good. All right, so with these added, we can now commit, and we'll go through the install process.
All right.
And at this point, the systems should move on their merry way out of their kind of holding pattern in Sledgehammer, install CentOS 6.5, and start installing the actual OS. Note that the way the dependencies work, this actually represents a true cross-system dependency on the annealer. So the annealer will actually pause and hold off the Saltstack minion roles until the master is configured, because the master needs to have actions done to it to accept the minion's keys. So you can't configure a minion until the master is available. Or more accurately, the way Crowbar is trying to set this up is a fully automated system. If you're actually setting up Saltstack by hand, what you would do is you'd set up your master. You could install your minions if you wanted, and then once your master was finished, you could join your minions to the master and then go to the master and accept their keys. Crowbar is doing that for you in a secure fashion.
That makes a lot of sense. So the whole key synchronization piece is something that Crowbar is taking care of.
Correct.
From that perspective. Okay. And so even though Crowbar normally parallelizes work across nodes, the fact that this one has a master dependency, these will wait.
Yes.
Okay.
So in fact, let's go into minion 2. Go ahead and click into minion 2.
You caught me on the refresh.
And then let's go into all node roles. So in this case, let's see. His minion is blocked. So if you go into that, click blocked, you can see that it's blocked on that node completing its Saltstack master configuration.
This is a really good example of how the graph is built. So this node's minion action is blocked by its separate node's action on master. Okay.
Right, and itself, right? It itself needs to be installed, right?
Right.
And then the master needs to not only be installed but also configured. Okay. So now if you click on block for master.
Oops, for master.
There you go. You got comment. Yeah. There you can see that itself is blocked by the installed, so itself needs to be installed, but it's also blocking the other minion roles.
Okay. So this really shows you what's going to happen and what's expected.
And the expected flow through the system.
And some of this stuff you'll get more of these as we reboot and we add more upstream and downstream roles.
The interesting thing about this particular view is that it is based upon this specific node role is blocking one layer up and one layer down. So so if we kept going upstream, you have
to click in the right spot.
Right. Then you'll see that it's the installation of the OS is blocked by
the provisioner and the hardware being configured.
Correct.
Right, and so I can go up to this, and this one is blocked by. So this one's actually the DHCP server on the admin node, and the hardware configuration. So I can keep sort of jumping upwards.
Correct. And this is somewhat reflected in the deployment view. Loosely, if you can compress a graph to kind of a linear view, you get this kind of list view here. And it kind of is in order in that regard. Yeah,
we get it mostly close enough to right. The system does the right thing no matter whether we show it in the right way.
Yeah, it's just the vagaries of compressing a graph into a linear view, right? You get some reasonable ordering, but some things can be before others.
Right.
Okay. So at this point we kind of wait. You can see, but in the background, the OS is installing, right? So they're making their progress. They're chugging along. The nodes have finished installing. They've rebooted into their actual OS image. All right, so why don't we log into the master?
Okay. So this is my admin node, and I have to become Crowbar. So let's SSH into the system I'm in. I'm in the Crowbar user, SSH root. There you go.
Salt key.
All right.
God. Okay, so seems to be we might have a timing issue, but apparently. So in this case, you can see the accepted keys that have been added, and then the one that wasn't.
Okay.
So at this point, we need to
that's
rerun the master.
We need to rerun the master?
Yeah.
How would we do that?
Go into the node role for that and hit retry.
Oh, pretty simple to do. So it's already been run. I can force Crowbar to rerun something. Very, very handy feature. It's going to go back into the annealer and queue up work.
It's already done.
It's already done.
Normally what happens is when a Saltstack minion comes in, it registers with the Saltstack master as an unaccepted key.
Okay.
And normally you would have to run a command that says accept this key, I agree, put that into the accepted keys, and the systems can then talk. Or you can reject them explicitly and then they're not allowed to talk.
Very nice. So whitelist. Okay.
Yeah, and so in our case, Crowbar went through and ran those commands automatically on the master saying, I knew that guy was going to come, it had this key, let me put it into the right place, and we move forward. Okay? Salt, no space. Everything is now done as the salt command. Keys is just key management. Then you do single quote, star, single quote, space, test.ping.
Makes actually a lot of sense.
There we go. So basically, the salt command says do an action, or against these nodes that match this, run this salt command. And test.ping is just a quick, can I send a message to the salt minion from the master and get a response? And in this case, this shows that our minions are talking to our master and all is fine. So at this point, you can do any sets of salt stuff. Grains.ls.
Whoa. Okay, so it's listing all the grains that are available for it.
And so then you can look at specific sub-pieces of each one of those kind of things, right? So like you could do...
grains like IPv6?
Sure, let's try that and see what it says. Do grains.items and see what it says.
Oh, cool. Good. So grains.items. Wow. Okay, this is inventory.
So that's an inventory items,
of all the systems. Okay.
So that's the inventory on that specific. So you can see its interfaces, its IPv6 addresses. Right.
Okay.
So this is their grains.items represents their Ohio-like or factor data, for example.
And it's very YAML-y.
Ish.
Yeah,
it is YAML, in fact. That's headers, right?
I'm assuming it conforms to YAML because that would make it really easy to parse.
I would hope so. But anyways, the point is we now have Salt and we can now let the system be driven through Saltstack.
That's cool. Excellent. That makes it just about as easy as I can imagine. If you wanted to experiment with Salt in a system and begin to play with it, that's what, a couple of clicks and you've built a Salt infrastructure, including the key distribution. So that's the Salt integration piece for Crowbar. Stay tuned and come in and check out some of the other bits and pieces, and we'll be posting those as we go. Thank you for joining.